We left class on Friday. So here's the exact same tree diagram, and we left with the answers to A and B. So let me just go over this again. So the student studying means we have to add up all the possibilities of what happened when they studied. So they either passed and studied or they failed and studied. We can't just add 0.73 and 0.31, okay? Because the idea of the tree diagram is that these all go together. Okay, so that's where we got 0.638. We added passed and studied, 0.576, and failed and studied, 0.062. A student doesn't study, so we add up the passed and didn't study, 0.224, and we added the failed and didn't study, 0.062, to get the 0.362. Okay? All right, so let's go through these other ones. So if a student studies, he passes. All right, so this is a conditional statement. So the student studying is 0.638 right here if a student studies. So then we want to look at the passing and studying. So passing and studying is 0.576 because the numerator is my intersection, and that ends up being 0.903. Okay, so now if a student studies, he fails. My denominator is studying, 0.638. My numerator is the intersection, the and, student studies and fails. So students studying and fails, studying, 0.062. And that, when you multiply it out, or divide, 0.097. If a student doesn't study, he fails. My denominator is doesn't study, 0.362. It's conditional, okay? And he doesn't fail. So doesn't study and fails. Fails, doesn't study, 0.138. Oops, 0.138. And that is 0.381. If a student doesn't study, then he passes. So my denominator again, doesn't study, 0.362. My numerator, he passes. Doesn't study and passes. Passes, doesn't study, 0.224. And that is 0.619. Okay, all right. Okay, so let's do the next one. 4% of people who spend time in the woods will get Lyme disease. So it'd be great to pause the video, and then I will go through how you write the tree diagram, and you do it first and then see if you get it right. Okay, so Lyme disease, not Lyme disease. So we'll say Lyme disease, no Lyme disease. So this is 0.04, 4% of the people. And right here, then the complement, 0.96. Okay, of the people with Lyme disease, there we go. So here's more branches. If you have it, it will give you a positive reading 97% of the time. So we go positive reading, 0.97, and then we'll say a negative reading, 0.03. Of the people who do not have Lyme disease, the same test will give a negative rating 92% of the time. Okay, so negative here, 0.97, and positive, 92, I'm sorry, 92% of the time, and then 0.08 is positive. Okay, so here's our tree diagram. All right, so when I multiply these out, 0.0388, 0.0012, this is 0, 0.8832, and 0.0768. Okay, all right. So now we have this all set up. Now we can answer the question. Okay, find the probability that the person gets a positive reading. So the positive reading is going to happen here, and it's going to happen here. So we add those together. 0.0388 plus 0.0768, and that gives us 0.1156. Okay, the person gets a negative reading. Okay, so the negative reading is 0.0012 plus 0.8832. When we add those up, we get 0.8844. Okay, so I'm adding up all of the possibilities of like this one, all the positives. Here's my positive right here, and then I follow this tree. My positive is right here, and add those up. Okay, all right. If the person gets a positive reading, he has Lyme disease. So if the person gets a positive reading, my denominator is 0.1156. My numerator is that it gets a positive reading and has Lyme's disease. So right here, 0.0388. And that is 0.3356. Okay. Person gets a positive reading, he doesn't have Lyme disease. Okay, so again, my denominator, 0.1156, and then my numerator doesn't have Lyme disease. So positive reading and doesn't have Lyme's disease, 0.0768 right here. Doesn't have Lyme disease, positive reading right here. And that happens 0.6644. Seems high. Seems very high. Okay. Person gets a negative reading, doesn't have Lyme disease. So my denominator, 0.8844, doesn't have Lyme disease. And my numerator, 0.8832. Because it's negative and Lyme's. So negative and Lyme's disease. Negative reading, sorry, negative and doesn't have Lyme disease right here. And that is 0.9986. Okay, last one. Person gets a negative reading. He has Lyme disease. Negative reading, 0.8844. And has, if a person gets a negative reading, has Lyme disease. Has Lyme disease, negative reading, 0.0012. Which is 0.0014. Okay, all right. There you go. If you have questions, let me know.